call the City Commission meeting of January 7th, 2020 to order. And on behalf of everyone sitting up here, let me wish everyone a healthy and happy new year, blessings and only good things for this year, for all of you. Thank you. Can I now please ask ACES student Luciana Duarte to please lead the pledge? Come right up.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, in liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you.
The kids are all here from the high school.
Let me ask the city manager, are there any additions or deletions to the agenda?
Good evening, Mayor. Yes, I'm requesting that 5I be pulled for discussion.
So noted. Give us 1 second. Okay. Under special presentations, Dade County Commissioner Esteban Bovo cannot make it tonight. He will be rescheduling his coming here to talk about the census. There are no employee services award this month. How come, Mr. Manager?
The one of our officers got injured before he could make it here, so he'll hopefully be here next month.
Well, we hope he feels better, or she.
He.
Okay. Now from the Aventura City of Excellence School update, let me hear from Principal Trelaka. Is Anthony here?
Yes.
I actually brought Luisana here with me to give the update.
Please, I'd much rather hear from Luisana.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My name is Luisana Duarte, and I am an eighth grade student at ACES. I have had the privilege of attending this amazing school for 8 years, and I am happy to be here tonight to share some of the incredible things we are doing. Our most recent Cloud9 character trait was citizenship. Students in kindergarten through 5th grade received a home connection and booklet to continue their lessons, and students in grades 6 through 8th received a digital connection. Kindergarten also started a wonderful new program called Kiwi, which focuses on the social emotional learning skills like emotion regulation. They started with the emotion of anger. Our ACES Saturday Academy is underway with 100 students in attendance. The program targets unlevel readers and below-level math students, providing additional instruction and intervention over 10 Saturday morning sessions to support our Eagles' academic success. Our annual Science Fair was a wonderful event. Our middle school students displayed their science fair projects in the cafeteria for the elementary students to visit during the day and parents to visit during the evening. An award ceremony was held at the AACC to recognize their outstanding work. 15 students will represent ACES at the district science fair competition. The annual Holiday Bazaar was a great success. A record number of vendors participated, and it was a great community event with parents shopping alongside their students throughout the day. Our Eagles had wonderful opportunities to attend several field trips, including Junior Achievement Career Science Fair, with over 150 vendors that shared career information with our 8th graders. Kendrell Martin, author of Shelley's Adventures, visited our kindergartners and taught them some American Sign Language. 1st grade visited Jungle Island, and our 5th grade visited Dickinson State Park. Finally, our 4th grade Eagles attended their first overnight field trip at St. Augustine. In other exciting news, a team from the flip grade visited our ACES campus. They were impressed with how our students amplify their voice by sharing video reflections. We showcased some of our best videos during the Student Voice Rally hosted by Flip Grade for our 5th through 8th graders. 2019 wrapped up with our annual winter showcase, including student performances from 1st through 8th grade. Our students rocked on stage during 3 sold-out shows. This month, we will be hosting our spelling bee for 4th through 8th grade, Student of the Month ceremony, and our coffee connection, where we continue to build connections with our families.
Well, thank you. Do you have time for the schoolwork with all of that going on? There's certainly a lot going on at ACES. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you for inviting me.
You're welcome. Next, from Don Soffer, Aventura High School, an update. I'm going to request that Principal McKnight either present it or introduce the student that's going to present it.
Mayor and Commission, I'm going to concede my time to my student, Ms. Sophia Edelberg.
Wonderful.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. My name is Sophia Edelberg, a student at Don Soffer Aventura High School, and it is my distinct pleasure to present to you the school report. It is somewhat hard to believe that we are coming up on the end of the second quarter and will begin the third quarter on January 17th. The winter NWEA assessment was administered prior to the winter break. The focus of the assessment was English Language Arts, Algebra 1, Geometry, and Life Sciences. Students also took a unit assessment test in November to assess standard-based knowledge per curriculum maps in tested subject areas. Tutoring groups were established and students were invited to attend these groups, and parents were also notified. In addition, the school also implemented the Orden-Gillingham program to assist identified students with improved reading and writing skills. We want to take this opportunity to sincerely thank the mayor and commissioners for their support of bringing this program to our attention and making this a reality for many of our students. The school also implemented the Reading Plus to support fluency, reading comprehension, and vocabulary and skill development. The state approved our CSP grant in late November, and we are now receiving the much-needed inventory for our science lab, our fully outfitted MacBook cart, and other important supplies for a variety of content areas. We will have the opportunity to request the final allotment from the grant in the spring and place the order in time for arrival prior to the 2021 school year. Prior to winter break, our Student Government Association ran a campaign to collect toys for children at Joe DiMaggio Children's Hospital. Also, prior to the break, we had an ugly sweater day and a holiday carol sing-along on the last day of school. Our clubs are meeting regularly and supporting a full experience for our students. I, along with Valeria Baldro, our head delegate in our school's newly established Model United Nations. Model UN is a club where doors to real-world problems are open for students in order to expand their knowledge and abilities through diplomatic debate. Many of the organizations and students at our school are actively participating in the Dirty Sock 5-kilometer run and walkathon that benefits Ellie's Army Foundation, an organization that helps families with children afflicted with life-threatening illnesses. Two of our students, Camila Nilla and Constance Pimentel, will be singing the national anthem at this event. Our school also had a booth at Founders Day, and many of our students were on hand to share their experience at the school with interested future DSHS families. Mr. McKnight, Ms. Clapier, and our administrative assistant, Ms. Silver, were also there supporting awareness for our school. We will soon begin our application process on January 13th for incoming 9th grade students. Our information sessions have been well attended, and we are hopeful we will have a large number of applicants, making it necessary to run a lottery for admission. Our recommit process began on January 2nd for existing DSHS students moving to 10th grade. To date, 110 parents have recommitted their students, and the process has only been available for the last 5 days. On the athletic front, we have completed our young women's volleyball season, and we are now in our winter season with 3 sports up and running, which include young men's and young women's soccer and young men's basketball. In the spring, we are planning to offer young men's volleyball and young women's flag football. We are pleased to announce the completion of our concession stand in our equipment room is in development. All of these improvements would not be possible without our parents and our athletic booster club. Before I conclude, on a personal note, I would like to say how happy I am to have the chance to establish and begin new traditions and activities that will hopefully carry on throughout DSH's future. So far, I have also been able to enjoy interactive classes such as my science courses, which have not only shown me that science could be in fact fun, but also helped me discover new skills such as flying drones, which a student like me would have never thought of doing. Lastly, I noticed these past months that the small size of our class allows learning to flow better in classrooms and give the student body a sense of family, which is tied by Mr. McKnight's strong leadership. Finally, as Mr. McKnight often says to the students, have a great Barracuda day. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so very much. We're proud of both of our schools, the principals, and all of the kids. and their parents, because they wouldn't be what they are if they didn't have those kinds of role models. So give yourselves a round of applause. The next item on our agenda is the consent agenda, and we seem to have a large number of young people here tonight. So, just for explanation purposes, the consent agenda items are self-explanatory. They're never expected to get any discussion or need any further review. The city manager has already deleted item I in the consent agenda. So can I have a motion? Is there any commissioner that wants to remove anything else? Then can I have a motion of approval of the remaining items on the consent agenda? Made by Commissioner Shelley, seconded by Commissioner Mizrahi. I'll ask the clerk for a roll call vote.
Commissioner Dr. Marks,
Yes.
Commissioner Mizrahi,
Yes.
Commissioner Shelley.
Yes.
Commissioner Weinberg,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Narosky,
Yes.
Mayor Weissman. Mayor
Yes.
Weissman. Commissioner Landman is absent, the motion passes.
Thank you so much. The next, I'm not even going to call it an item, but the next item, I guess I am, on our agenda is to recognize the members that were able to come tonight to this meeting that are forming the foundation board of the Don Soffer Aventura High School Foundation. This is so important to this city, to every single member of this commission, that I just want to thank all of you that are appointed tonight and explain to everyone else that each commissioner and the mayor got one appointment on this board. And they will be the fundraising arm for a high school, because high schools cost an awful lot of money. And we really want to thank this first group of people for stepping up to the plate. So I'm going to ask the commissioners to come down with me. We have some certificates to give out. Yeah. I'll do it. What's it down to? City manager also? People were only informed yesterday of tonight's meeting. So there were a few people that couldn't come on such short notice. We still want to recognize them and read their name, and we'll formally introduce them to the community at another date. But I proudly want Rachel Freeland, please come up, and she's my appointee to this foundation.
Raquel Rothman.
Well known in the community.
Amit Bloom.
Is Cindy Oletsky here? She's coming, but not here yet.
When she comes,
We'll applaud anyway.
Okay.
Alan Friend, he's not here today, so I'll keep this.
And then you have one more. Do you want to read this one, Mayor?
Two more.
Oh.
I have
Michelle Leon. Michelle, are you here?
Oh,
Yes.
Cindy, come on up. Good timing.
perfect timing.
And stay up. And Brett Storch. Brett Fertig Storch. No?
That's it.
So there we have it.
Just stay here, I'll get it.
Wait.
On, okay.
The women.
I don't care, Howard, but we never do.
You just call them, yes.
At the end, you can. Go on.
That's correct.
I just wanted to say that
Commissioner Weinberg.
thank you, Mayor. The new foundation board members who are here this evening, obviously we're in good hands. I mean, that, we can task them with anything. I think it's clear it's going to get done. So if the task is to raise money, a lot of money is going to be raised. Whatever we ask them to do, you can see what kind of ability these ladies have. So thank you very much for volunteering to serve.
And I think he echoes the sentiments of everybody. This won't be an easy year, politics as it is and everything else going on. But again, I want to thank you for stepping to the plate and really embracing this task. The city will always be in your debt as being the founding foundation board. So again, I thank you guys. I'm going to request the city attorney to read item 1. That is the item that the city manager deleted from the consent agenda.
Thank you, Mayor. A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Aventura, Florida, awarding and letting a bid contract for bid number 2010-17-3, City of Aventura Municipal Transit Services for citywide shuttle service to RTW Management for the individual bid price as contained in Exhibit A attached, authorizing the city manager to execute associated contract, authorizing the city manager to take necessary and expedient action to carry out the aims of this resolution, providing for the appropriation and allocation of funds for said bid award, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Can I ask for a motion for approval of the resolution? Motion made by Commissioner Shelley. Second? Seconded by Vice Mayor Narodsky. I'm going to open the item for public comment and request members of the public to state their name and address for the record. Is there anyone from the public that wishes to address this item? I guess we have.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, my name is Bill Salem. I am with the law firm of Moskowitz, Mandel, Salem, and Simowitz, PA. Our address is in the item as part of the protest letter that we filed on behalf of our client, Limousines of South Florida, Inc., which is your incumbent vendor since 2003. We filed this protest not because we were the lowest bidder. We recognized we were not. But on the other hand, we do not believe that the vendor that you have proposed for award is responsible and can provide the quality of service that your ITB requires and that your citizens insist upon. I have with me Mr. Mark Levitt, who's in the black hat in the third row from the back, who is the Vice President of LSF that will comment after me, and he will speak to the particulars. Although our protest was denied as to the responsiveness issues, we believe that this commission has the duty and the ability to look at the the responsibility of this vendor to provide the services that you want. Who is RTW Management? If you've read the backup materials, you'll see that they're a small company out of Utah that Mr. Coates apparently took over in 2014. There are a number of clarifications that are attached, and in particular, if you look at attachment E to the memo, you will find that this particular vendor purports to operate a 7-bus shuttle service for this city out of a little house on Fillmore in Hollywood. If you have not seen this location, it is a residential zoning, which apparently it has been confirmed is a legal non-conforming use for whatever use they are making of it. Now, I ask you to look at that house and tell me where they're going to park 7 buses. And oh yeah, by the way, if you look at the actual clarifications provided, this company doesn't even own this property. It has no existing lease that is mentioned. Supposedly, it's going to have a lease. Supposedly, it's going to continue the non-conforming use somehow if it gets a certificate of use from the city of Hollywood. And then and only then will it be permitted to seek the renovations that might be required, which in the email of Mr. Kroll includes, quote, will have to be improved in order to use it by adding a fence and a hard surface to park, as they will not allow to park on the grass. This contract is supposed to be let.
Your time is up.
All right, March 2nd.
I'll let you go.
I just finished this
Yes, yes, sir.
Listen to what Mr. Levitt has to say and ask yourself, can this vendor perform? Can this vendor do it by March 2nd?
Thank you. Is there anyone else that wishes to address? Please come up. State your name and address.
Good evening. Happy New Year, everybody. Everything best to City of Aventura. This is a wonderful place. But we have a little problem.
Well, one second. We're only addressing this item about the bus.
Oh, this item?
Yes.
Oh, no.
If you,
So not the bus.
we'll do regular public hearing.
That
This
will
is
be
just
later.
on the bus
Okay,
item.
so no
Okay.
bus. Okay.
All right.
I will come back.
Good evening, Madam
Good
Mayor,
evening.
Commissioners. My name is Mark Levitt. I am Vice President of Limousines of South Florida. I am one of the founders of Limousines of South Florida. I've been operating your service since 2003. I can tell you that this company, RTW, has no presence here in South Florida. To operate for the city of Aventura, your city is demanding. And I will tell you that I think we have done a great job. I just saw the last statistics for, I believe, the month of December. We transported approximately 24,000 people. I think we had one complaint. At least that's what I got from the report. Yes, we do have issues. Unfortunately, these buses that we're operating today are getting old and need to be replaced. When this RFP came out, I was the one that explained to the city that the certain vehicles can and cannot be utilized in this contract. I want to bring to your attention that because they put a limit of 125,000 miles on these buses, there's no way, okay, based upon the mileage, that you can do it in the way that the way the other company proposed it. Okay, if you only were 5 miles away from the city, you couldn't do it the way they were asking. You could check on the math on that. The other thing is they have no presence here, and trust me, you have to have additional equipment and additional resources. We operate about 300 buses between the city of Homestead and Boca Raton. We're only a South Florida company. We have 4 locations. We have our own maintenance department. Okay, there's no way you can operate, and they were talking about using a dealership for maintenance. You all know that if you take your vehicle to the dealer to be serviced, it could be 2 or 3 days before they even look at it. You have to have the infrastructure. We have that infrastructure, and we can clearly provide you with the high quality of service. The reason why our price was higher, and I want you to understand, is because this contract was let out for 5 years. The bid was for 5 years. In order to be within the guidelines of the contract of the 125,000 miles, we had to figure in buying 2 sets of buses. Okay, it can't be done with one set of the buses, and it can't be done with adding 1 additional bus, because as you know, you have 6 routes and they all have different colors, so they're all color coordinated. So adding a 6th bus is not going to answer what you're looking for. So I asked this commission, I'm sorry, I ask you just to relook at these items, because I know what you need, and we want to provide you with quality service.
Thank you,
Thank you so much for your time, and also for your past 15 years of business.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the public that wishes to address this item? Okay, I'm going to close the item for public comment and ask if any member of the commission has any questions or comments. Vice Mayor Narodsky.
Hi, and mostly maybe for Ron or Joel, but can you go over the cost savings or differential, as well as if our internal department has any concerns regarding the potential performance of the new vendor, such were raised by the existing vendor?
Okay, just as a matter of, just to bring everybody up to speed on how this was done, late last year, a bid was let for transportation services. The bid opening was held on October 28th. We received 2 bids from companies, South Florida Limousine and RTW Management. And the two respective prices was $1,419,740 and RTW Management at $1,270,000, approximately $150,000 difference. On November 21st, after reviewing both bids as responsible and believing that both could service, if both could fulfill the contract, we were going to recommend to the commission, or I was going to recommend to the commission, RTW Management. South Florida Limousine filed a protest, so we reviewed their concerns very carefully. On December 5th, we answered the protest and addressed each one of the concerns raised, and I think you've heard some of them here tonight. Our response was that we were going to reject the bid and continue with RTW Management for the city, that they can provide the services, and a lot of the things that were being addressed in the protest were rather subjective than actually that are quantifiable, in my opinion. Overall, over a 5-year period, the differential in the price was approximately $750,000, which is a substantial amount of money, and that is why tonight I'm recommending that I'm asking for approval of the contract to be awarded to RTW.
Any more comments or questions, Commissioner Shelley?
I'm not sure I got the answer Mark had asked. Could you explain to me how the vetting was done on the qualifications of the company that did get the award? I'd like to hear a little bit about them based on what we've heard tonight, and also comment on, are we having to contemplate the change in the buses over the 125,000 mile situation that they brought up, considering the condition the buses are in today?
Yes. Any questions that we had before we were going to initially recommend was investigated, and we believe all the things raised could be satisfied. The 125,000 mile requirement, that is, once a bus hits 125,000 miles, it would have to be replaced, and that was the requirement. The buses can hit that mileage, but the the company knows that they have to replace the bus at that time,
And that's
and on their cost.
but it's in their bid that they
Yes.
proposed?
Oh, yeah.
And one question, and then Commissioner Weinberg. And in a year, what is the average mileage put on one of our buses
I
now?
know it was brought up. If the bus did about 60 miles a week in just commuting back and forth to the city, it would be roughly 3,200 miles a year, or 16,000, give or take, miles in over 5 years on a bus, leaving about 120,000 miles for the bus to travel and circulate through the city. As each route is a little bit different, I can't answer off the top of my head what is the exact, the route miles, but that gives you an idea of what we expect out of a bus.
If I heard you right, you're saying about 60 miles a week, knowing that our city,
Where
knowing that our
the
city's
buses will be stored.
3 miles, 3.25 miles, so 60 miles a week, it's 52 weeks in a year.
Right.
The math is pretty simple.
Right.
Okay, Commissioner Shelley's going to finish, and then Commissioner Weinberg.
The other part of what I was going to ask you is, if it's the responsibility of the vendor to supply the bus if it exceeds this mileage,
Yes.
and we terminate a contract like we're doing now, or switching, who owns those buses at this point? Do they go back to the vendor?
So,
Do we have them?
Yes, the vendor would keep them.
The vendor will keep those. So part of this agreement is that the new vendor has to buy 6 new buses?
Yes.
Okay.
And new buses.
Commissioner Weinberg.
Thank you, Mayor. My first concern is that there were only 2 responses to the RFP. Maybe that's the nature of the business, but I would have liked to have seen more. And I understand that generally we'll take the lowest responsible and responsive bid, and it's over $700,000 over the life of the contract, which is a lot of taxpayer dollars. But my concern is that more important than the money is getting people from point A to point B. We have to have a level of service that's not only acceptable but exceptional. So can we address the specific concern that we heard? Is it accurate that the headquarters for the bidder that was selected is a residential home?
You only saw one picture of that. There is property that's right next to it, adjacent to that will be surfaced and for the buses to park on. We have the attorney from Hollywood that let us know that it was a non-conforming use. The company was reluctant to put in, they were ready to start work and refinish the side, do the renovation work to that property, but since we pulled the item, they just wanted to make sure they actually got the contract before they invested the money in there. It can suffice for that.
So the current contract, when does that expire that we're under right now?
I believe March.
And this, do we have any recourse what if for some reason, whatever reason, they no longer have that?
Absolutely. If for some reason this company could not perform to our standards, we have 2 options. We could always go to South Florida, the second lowest bidder, or we could rebid and go for another, to do this again.
And who would be providing our service during the rebid time?
Oh, just like now, the company that was in. If they weren't performing, then we would go out to bid. They would have to continue to perform until such time.
And is it accurate that the winning bidder does not provide service in South Florida to any extent currently?
No, this would be their first time in South Florida.
And we're the Commissioner, Dr. Linda Marks.
In terms of the due diligence that you or your team did on this new company, did anybody go out there to see any of their sites?
No, we spoke to all the cities that used them. They were very happy with their service. One particular city, there was a little hiccup in the beginning, only because the city actually changed the requirements of the contract before it started, which left the company just a little time to add some services, which they did. And I believe that was Scottsdale. But they've been in the business for a while, and it's not, they're they have been providing this type of service in cities throughout the country.
And then one other question. Given the time, which is close to the middle of January, and beginning date of March 1 or March 30?
You know what, I don't know off the top of my head, I'll yell to Joe. March 1st.
March 1st. Is this new company going to be able to do the resurfacing, purchase the buses, hire the employees, train the employees, and honestly be up and running in about a 6-week period?
We believe so, yes. They've been kind of preparing for it either way.
Commissioner Weinberg?
I was just wondering if it was possible to discuss this on the January 24th workshop.
Well, I have a motion on the floor. My guess is that Commissioner Weinberg can add an amendment to it or delay it. City Attorney?
Right, the procedure would be a motion to table to a time certain if that's desired by the commission. And if so, if a motion to table is second to table to a date certain, that motion would take precedence over the existing motion.
Okay, so if I understood you correctly, Commissioner Weinberg, you could make a motion to table this. If you would allow me, let me just ask this question. How has the service for the past 15 years been with the current company, and do we have a history of complaints? Or is it just the dollar amount?
No, it should be important to note that we don't have, this isn't a strike against South Florida Limousine. They've been here for a long time. They do service a lot of communities. And this was the major issue was the price differential.
Commissioner Shelley?
Yeah, before we entertain Commissioner Weinberg, I'd like to ask something else, because if we do that, we're delaying, it would go to the workshop. We would not be able to then make a decision till the February meeting, which would be leaving 2 to 3 weeks left for whoever gets the contract to be prepared for it. If that be the case and this motion is adhered to, I would like to add then that we extend, if agreeable to the present company, an extension of the date from March 1st to April 1st, because there is no way a company is going to be up and running in 2 weeks, and we won't be able to make a decision until our February meeting based on what he's requesting. So I'm asking you, City Manager and City Attorney, how we would have to adjust the deadline dates on something like this.
I'm sure David could talk about the deadline dates. I'm going to just respond to putting this off to a workshop. This has been, we've been working on this for a long time. I'm not sure a workshop is going to bring up anything that we haven't answered out in their concerns. Their concerns, a lot of it was very subjective, as you've read. And again, nothing personal against South Florida Limousine. I know they can do, I'm sure they can continue to do the job, but this is the process that we undertake.
So it's your recommendation.
But what I'm hearing is their concerns from the commission, not necessarily from the vendor. And so, Commissioner Shelley, or Commissioner Weinberg, let me ask you if you want to clarify your motion.
It just, in terms of procedurally, at the workshop in 2 weeks, I had asked for an item to be on the agenda regarding a resolution on supporting hate crime legislation, and I had asked that we then have a special commission meeting at that time so that we can vote for that if it was the commission's will, in which case this issue could also be heard as a commission meeting at that time, so the delay would only be the 2 weeks. We wouldn't have to wait an additional time in order to initiate the agreement with whichever vendor was selected.
Mayor?
Commissioner Shelley.
If I may, David, we have a motion on the floor, don't we?
That's correct.
Is it possible, before we make any amendment, that we take a vote on the motion? Because if there are these concerns, it would fail, and we would have to then take it to workshop. But if it passes, there would be no purpose to bring it to the workshop. And I appreciate and respect your thoughts that there may be opposition on this table at this point. Could we find out by taking the vote as the motion stands?
Yes, if there's no motion to table that is seconded. In other words, if a motion to table was made and seconded, that motion would take precedence.
So your options are, you can table it, you can not table it, and we can vote on it, and if it fails, we can, up to the city manager whether he brings it to the workshop for us or not.
Right.
If we do vote on it. So Commissioner Weinberg.
So, yes, so I understand that procedurally, so I'm looking for a second on my motion to table till the January 24th.
You've got a second, seconded by Dr. Linda Marks. Is there any other discussion on it? Commissioner
I
Narazzi.
just want my opinion on the record that I wanted to vote on this right now and to pass it right now, and I think the delay is unnecessary.
I second that. Do we have to vote
So now
on this
now,
motion?
Mayor, you would call for a vote on the motion to table.
Table, right.
Thank you.
Let me have the clerk do a roll call vote on the table, on the motion to table it.
Commissioner Dr. Marks?
Yes.
Commissioner Mizrahi?
No.
Commissioner Shelley?
No.
Commissioner Weinberg?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Narosky?
No.
And Mayor Weissman?
Yes.
Commissioner Landman is absent. There is
So a 3-3 tie, the motion to table fails. So the commission could proceed with the item or proceed with the,
Vote it down.
correct.
Okay. Commissioner Mizrahi.
I just want to say that I went through this with the manager. I went through all the concerns that the company was asking, and unfortunately, we need to take care of our residents and we need to take care of the taxpayers' money. And it's a lot of money. We're not talking $10,000, we're talking $700,000 over the period. And I'm not concerned about the fact that they're not in Florida with things that how things have changed. A lot of the people have companies all over the world, and they are managed from the backyard, from their house. So that part, I'm really not concerned, and I would like to vote on it today.
Commissioner Shelley.
Yeah, aside from what Commissioner Mizrahi said, and I agree, I think what we're also doing, this has been in process for quite a while, and our city manager and staff have done what they were supposed to be doing, and that's vetting out companies, taking the bidding properly and handling it accordingly. And I have all great respect for the company that came that has done the job here for quite a while, but the fact is the bidding was done legally, it was done properly, and it was vetted out by our staff and city manager. And I believe we're undermining our staff and city managers' decisions by what we're doing if we don't allow this, because all that means is every time somebody gets up and objects to something that we want to pass, we're going to be going through this extension. And very honestly, it's a national company. They vetted it, and I believe that we should support our staff and our city manager by that decision. I hear the concerns, and I have the same concerns, but then again, every time you make a change in a contract, these concerns are always evident. But that's why we have vetting processes, and that's why we have our staff and the city manager that we hired to do exactly what he's just done. So in my feeling, we'd be second-guessing a decision that our own staff has made, and I don't know that we have the ability, the knowledge, or the information that they have, or the time that they've spent on this decision to make it. So I would have to feel very strongly that we should proceed with this vote based on the recommendation of our staff.
I would just say that my understanding is this was not workshopped. In the future, almost everything like this comes to us for a workshop, and I think that's why we're having the discussion we're having tonight. So I would say to the city manager, please in the future, when it's something like this that impacts the entire community and almost 25,000 riders a month, that please let us know and don't keep it till where it comes up here, because almost always we'll workshop these items. Commissioner Dr. Linda Marks.
Yeah, I think I'd like to say the reason there is this issue tonight or concern tonight is that we were told there was an objection, but we were not given the information about the objection until just the other day. So we as a commission did not have an opportunity in a workshop to go through these items and to just make sure that we were in fact doing the right thing. because $750,000 is a huge amount of money, and of course we want to save that. But on the other hand, we can't take a risk either if we don't have all of the information. So I agree that the reason this is an issue tonight is because we haven't had a chance to really thoroughly discuss this. And having said that, I noticed a nod from the owner or the vice president of the current company who is willing, I believe, by the nod, to extend the contract for the month. So I don't know that we're hurting anything. It's just giving us information and, providing a certain comfort level. And that's really, so the month really wouldn't matter only because we have an extension opportunity.
Commissioner Weinberg.
Thanks. Also, at the January 24th workshop, I have an item on the agenda regarding the electric shuttles that are in use in many other cities, where you have an app and you're able to call for them to take you to specific locations. My goal is for all of our transportation needs, public transportation, to be improved. So I think it's short-sighted to just say, well, the administration already did the due diligence, and we would be undermining them if we took 2 more weeks to have a presentation. This was on our workshop agenda in November, but it was pulled before we discussed it because of the objection. So we never discussed it. My request was to at least discuss it. I don't think anyone has as much faith and confidence in the administration, in the gentleman who would have looked into this more so than me. In fact, I'm the one that recommended him when the position was open to have the job. I think he does a fantastic job, but it is my duty to examine what their due diligence was to make sure the taxpayers are getting the best possible deal, and I don't see how 2 weeks and putting it on a workshop harms in any way the future of going forward with the best transportation. In fact, I think it's our duty to do so, but whatever, it was already voted on, so now we'll vote on this.
This item. That's the current vote on the table, is to approve the item. Yes, Commissioner Vice Mayor.
I just wanted to add in reference to what was said earlier, is that I've been speaking with the city manager about this for several weeks. I think we've had at least 2 or 3 conversations about it, and I've been well informed as to the comings and goings. And to be honest, first of all, the existing service, to my knowledge, is excellent, and as was mentioned, I have no problem with that, and I think they've been an excellent vendor. That being said, this is business. I don't understand why all of a sudden we're calling into question the due diligence that was done by our staff, and I agree with what Commissioner Shelley said. I don't think this is necessarily related to any other future items that are on the workshop. There have been many contracts that we've approved without a significant or a lengthy debate or conversation about it. I think this is very cut and dry, and I'm a little bit surprised that people are not in agreement with that. So that's all I'll say on this, and we can take the vote and we can discuss it further if it does go to the workshop, but I'm just a little bit surprised.
Okay, and just to make it clear, if it remains a tie vote, City Attorney, what happens?
If the vote on the approval of the item ends up being a tie, that means it would not be approved, and therefore a further motion could be entertained, such as another motion to table or a motion to reject all bids and issue a new solicitation.
So the tie on the motion to table meant that it failed, but a tie on the motion.
Tie on the motion would be that it failed to get approval, but it wouldn't conclude the matter. Other motions could follow up.
Okay.
Such as another motion to put it on the
Weinberg.
workshop, correct?
Yeah.
Correct.
Thank you.
I have some concerns, but I also respect the work of staff tremendously. I'm just sorry that we weren't given more information, but I do respect the work that staff has done, and they have not led us wrong in the past. So I'm going to ask the clerk, unless anyone else has something to say. I'm going to ask the clerk for a roll call vote.
Commissioner Dr. Marks?
Thanks for making me first. I want to say the following. I know that we have an outstanding staff, and I know you have done your due diligence. And listening to what took place today, I think that the difficulty is the fact that we weren't given the information we needed. However, I will respect the due diligence of the staff and vote in favor of this motion and hope that this company comes through. So that's a
Commissioner
yes.
Mizrahi?
Yes.
Commissioner Shelley?
Yes.
Commissioner Weinberg?
No.
Commissioner Narodsky?
Yes.
Mayor Weissman?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. The next item are our zoning hearings, the quasi judicial public hearings. I'm going to request the city attorney to read the procedures for quasi judicial hearings.
Thank you, Mayor. As you stated, this is the quasi-judicial portion of the agenda, and on this evening, we have only one item under the item 6 quasi-judicial portion, and that happens to be a resolution concerning property at 21290 Biscayne Boulevard. As to the procedures I would incorporate by reference the quasi-judicial statement in the record.
All right, one second.
Yeah.
I'll wait. Okay, thank you,
Mayor.
Mr. Attorney.
An opportunity for all persons to speak on this quasi-judicial item will be made available after the presentation by the staff and the applicant. All testimony will be made under oath or affirmation. Each person who gives testimony may be subject to cross-examination, and the proceedings will be governed by our usual quasi-judicial procedures where the commission makes its decision based on the evidence to be presented. Mayor, at this time, you could request the city clerk to administer the oath.
Just going to do that.
Thank you.
I'm going to ask the city.
I'm sorry. I was going to say that after that, I'll read the title of the item.
That's what I was doing. I'm going to
you,
request
Mayor.
the city clerk to swear in those who want to offer testimony.
If you'll be providing testimony for this item, I need you to stand up, raise your right hand, and be sworn in at this time. If you'll be providing comments on this item, please stand up, raise your right hand, and be sworn in at this time. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
I'm going to ask the city attorney to please read the resolution.
Thank you, Mayor. A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Aventura, Florida, granting conditional use approval pursuant to Section 31-144 F2K and L of the City Code to permit a lot coverage of 49.55%, where the City Code permits a maximum lot coverage of 40%, and to permit a floor area ratio of 1.99, where the City Code permits a maximum floor area ratio of 1.39. Granting conditional use approval pursuant to Section 31-144 F2C for an increased height of 128 feet 8 inches, where the City Code permits a maximum height of 120 feet. Granting conditional use approval pursuant to Section 31-144 F2D for retail uses as part of a non-residential development totaling 9.38% of the building floor area, where the City Code permits retail uses not in excess of 15% of the total building area, vacating that portion of Northeast 213th Street running easterly from Northeast 28th Court to its termination, Northeast 28th Court between Northeast 213th Street and Northeast 214th Street, a portion of Northeast 29th Court and Northeast 214th Street, and a portion of land reserved for future roadway, reserving to the city all necessary utility easements, all for the development of a retail office assisted living facility located at 21290 Biscayne Boulevard in the city, providing for recordation and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. I'm going to ask for a motion for approval of this resolution. Made by Commissioner Dr. Linda Marks, seconded by Commissioner Mizrahi. I'm going to request the Community Development Director, Joanne Carr, to please present the staff report.
Thank you, Mayor. I have been sworn in. I would like to enter the staff report into the record. The applicant, Medical District Developments, LLC, has requested conditional use approval for increased lot coverage, increased floor area, increased building height, and for retail uses as part of a non-residential building. The applicant has further requested abandonment of existing public rights-of-way adjacent to the site in order to facilitate this development. Staff is recommending approval of the applicant's requests with conditions. The location of the property is in the northwest limit of the city, west side of Biscayne Boulevard at northeast 213th Street. Here's an aerial that may show a little better where the property is. This is Biscayne Boulevard, northeast 213th Street. This is East Dixie Highway. The applicant's property is in this location, bounded by northeast 214th Street to the north, northeast 28th Court to the west, and northeast 213th Street to the south, Biscayne Boulevard to the east. The site is approximately 1.97 acres. It's a vacant parcel. The easterly portion, the easterly 0.38 acres of the site, approximately, is Zone B2, Community Business District, and the balance of the property to the west is zoned MO, Medical Office District. The development has been designed so that the uses in the that are located in the B2 zone are permitted uses in that district, and the uses in the MO zone are also permitted uses in that district, so no rezoning is required to approve this development. This is a rendering of the building. This is Biscayne Boulevard. This is the extension of northeast 214th Street that I'll discuss later that the applicant is proffered to construct as part of the development. It is a 4-story office building with ground floor retail facing Biscayne Boulevard. And then to the west is the assisted living facility, 10 stories, 128 feet 8 inches, with ground floor retail as well, and 2 stories of parking. The development is proposed to be LEED Gold green building. There are 174 parking spaces in the 2 levels, 160 living units on the 5th to 10th floor. There are indoor and outdoor amenities on the 4th floor for the assisted living facility. There is a green rooftop garden for the office building. The uses as proposed require 331 parking spaces according to the city code. The applicant proposes to share parking with its development, which is immediately to the west and under construction now. I'll put this aerial back so you can see. Right now, the applicant is constructing a development called Ivory. It's office hotel buildings. It has 313 parking spaces. He has submitted a shared parking study, which has been reviewed and approved by the city's traffic engineering consultant. So these 2 properties will share parking spaces, and that will be a recorded declaration, unity of title to tie those 2 together, so the parking will always be available. Okay. Just the elevation. Here's the north elevation that you will see from the extension road, the office building. This is a driveway into the building and the assisted living facility. This is the south elevation. You can see the 2 levels of the parking garage and the assisted living facility here and office building here. This is the ground floor landscaping. Here you'll see the driveway in. These are the rooftop amenities for the assisted living facility on the 4th floor. And this is the rooftop garden for the office building. So access to the building is by way of Northeast 213th Street and a future easterly extension of Northeast 214th Street. And this is how it looks. The proposed extension road is shown in yellow. And as part of this project, the applicant has proffered to construct this road extension from Biscayne Boulevard to Northeast 28th Court at its expense. The road extension plans have been submitted to the city and are under review. In order to construct this extension road, the applicant will dedicate approximately 16,000 square feet of its current land holding to create this geometry for the new road. And although there's the dedication that you'll see, it is this triangle that is required. In yellow is the geometry of the road extension, and this is the dedication from the owner's property. Now, as well as this dedication, there is a required dedication from another a separate landowner to the north, and that dedication has not been made at this time. The applicant is aware that completion of the road is a condition of approval of a temporary or permanent certificate of occupancy for his new building, and wishes to begin construction at its risk, pending those other dedications. The applicant has also proffered to construct at its expense road and sidewalk improvements on Northeast 28th Avenue and Northeast 213th Street, and that's beginning sidewalk and road work beginning at the north limit of the hospital garage where the sidewalk ends, and the proposal is to continue the sidewalk on the east side of Northeast 28th Court, and then along the south side of Northeast 213th Street, so there is direct sidewalk connection to his new development. And again, he has provided improvement plans to our city staff, and they are under review. Well, in order to construct the building as proposed, the applicant has requested the following conditional use approvals. The first one is increased lot coverage from 40% to 49.55%, and increased floor area ratio from 3.9 to 1.99 pursuant to the city's green building program. Those are both incentives contemplated by the program, as long as you achieve either gold or platinum certification. And gold certification is what this developer is proposing. The increased lot coverage may be approved as a conditional use when a green roof or green rooftop amenities are provided in an amount equal to the requested increase. In this case, the requested increase is 9.55%, and the green rooftop gardens and amenities are 10.67%, so that criteria is met. An increased floor area ratio up to 2.0 may be provided as a conditional use, again, for attaining that gold or platinum level. And in this case, the requested increases from 1.39 to 1.99, so within that 2.0 that's contemplated by code. The gold level certification will be guaranteed by recorded agreement and by a letter of credit from the owner. Staff has evaluated this request using the criteria in section 3173C of the City Code and finds that it does meet those criteria. The second conditional use is increased height of 10 stories and 128 feet 8 inches for the retail assisted living facility in the MO district, or 8 feet 8 inches higher than the 120 maximum height allowed in that zone. The City Code does provide that you can increase the height through the conditional use approval process. Staff has again evaluated this request using the criteria in section 3173C of the code and finds that this does meet those criteria. The third conditional use approval is a request for retail uses as part of a non-residential building, and the code allows that through the conditional use approval process when the retail uses do not exceed 15% of the total gross floor area of the building. In this case, the applicant is proposing 9.38% for those retail uses, and staff has evaluated again this request using the approval criteria in section 3173C of the City Code and finds that it does meet those requests. And the next request is abandonment of some public rights-of-way that are adjacent to the site, again, to facilitate that development as proposed. And here's a close-up of the site. So you can see the streets abutting. This is Northeast 214th Street. This is where the extension road will be constructed. The abandonment requests are Northeast 28th Court, 213th Street, which terminates here, a little portion of Northeast 214th Street and 29th Court, which is outside the geometry of the new road, and another little piece that was reserved for future right-of-way when the city sold this piece in 2014. And again, is not required based on the new geometry of the road. The Florida statute does provide that the City Commission may abandon existing rights-of-way through a passage of a resolution at a properly noticed public hearing, and notice of this hearing has been properly made pursuant to Section 3171 of the City Code. So as staff is recommending approval of the applicant's conditional use approval requests and abandonment of right-of-way requests with the following conditions. The first is that plans submitted for building permit comply with the plans that were submitted with this application, that building permits be obtained within 12 months of the date of the resolution, failing which this approval will be null and void, and it may be renewed for 6 months at request of the applicant. Any discontinuation of the approved conditional use for a period of 180 consecutive days shall constitute abandonment and shall rescind the approval of the conditional use. Prior to the issuance of a building permit by the city for the development, the applicant shall enter into and record in the public records of Miami-Dade County at its expense and in form satisfactory to the city manager and city attorney the agreement and covenant in fulfillment of all requirements of the city's green building program, and provide to the city a performance bond or other security approved by the city manager and city attorney in the amount of 5% of the building construction costs as approved by the city's building official to guarantee attainment of that LEED Gold certification. Record a unity of title or restrictive covenant in lieu of unity of title for the 7 parcels comprising this development, plus the portion of Northeast 28th Court to be abandoned and the Ivory parcel to the west. The development parcel is currently 7 small, formerly platted lots, so they have to be joined together. Submit and receive approval of this by the city manager of a detailed job site plan as required by City of Aventura Ordinance number 2006-05, and that has to do with maintenance and operation of the construction site. Dedicate to the city in form approved by the city manager and city attorney the 16,014 square foot more or less portion of land along its northerly site for the road extension purposes. And prior to issuance of a certificate of occupancy or temporary certificate of occupancy, the applicant shall provide an as-built survey and elevation certificate in form approved by the city. Provide to the city evidence of compliance with the city code section 31242 regarding amplification systems, public safety radio protection, and complete at its own expense construction of the Northeast 214th Street extension from Northeast 28th Court to Biscayne Boulevard, along with all required improvements on Biscayne Boulevard, as shown on the plans entitled Northeast 214th Street Off-Site Roadway Improvements as approved by the City, Miami-Dade County, and Florida Department of Transportation. Almost done. Complete at its own expense, construction of the road and sidewalk improvements on the east side of Northeast 28th Avenue and on the south side of Northeast 213th Street, as shown on the plans entitled Northeast 28th Avenue and Northeast 213th Street roadway improvements as approved by the city, and provide in form satisfactory to the city manager and city attorney, and record at its expense in the public records of Miami-Dade County an easement in favor of the city over the abandoned right-of-way of Northeast 213th Street for purpose of construction, maintenance, and repair of a drainage, existing drainage pipe and facilities within that easement. Provide in form satisfactory to the city manager and city attorney, and record at its expense in the public records of Miami-Dade County a declaration of restriction confirming that the right-of-way of Northeast 28th Court, once abandoned, will continue to be used for private road purposes and will be improved, operated, and maintained by the applicant for that purpose in perpetuity. Provide in form satisfactory to the city manager and city attorney, and record at its expense in the public records of Miami-Dade County an easement in favor of the city of Aventura, conveying a non-exclusive perpetual easement in, over, and through the Northeast 28th Court easement property for public vehicular and pedestrian access and for construction, maintenance, repair, and operation of public utilities. Provide to the city in form satisfactory to the city manager and city attorney a shared parking agreement pursuant to section 31171A2 of the city code, and obtain its certificate of occupancy or certificate of occupancy for the Ivory Retail Hotel building to the west to ensure that the parking to be shared with this development is available for use. And with all that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much. At this time, I'm going to ask the applicant if they have any comments.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the Commission. Mickey Marrero from the law firm of Burkhoff, Riddell, Fernandez, Larkin, and Tappanis. We added a name this year, so I had to make sure I got it right. With me today is my partner, Jeff Burkow, our client, Bernardo Reber, the principal of Medical Districts Development, LLC. We also have our traffic engineering team and our surveyors here to answer any questions you may have. But I got to say, we're very excited. First of all, Joanne did, as usual, an amazing job of covering everything, and we've enjoyed working with her on this project to really get it right. As you know, this is, because of the dedications, this is a unique parcel. As a result, we are seeking these conditional uses to modify the development limitations. With that, we are agreeing to the lead gold as contemplated by your code. We've worked with her to make sure that the shared parking analysis works. We believe that the combination of uses between this project and the Ivory project will provide for more than enough parking and will result in, you won't have either garage with an excess of empty parking spaces. A very efficient use with both of these properties. With that, we're very excited to get this project started and move the medical district forward with a really beautiful design and a really innovative project. If you have any questions for us or for our team, we're here to answer them. Otherwise, we're anxious for your approval and to start this project. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else representing the applicant, or is that it? You're it? Good. Yeah. Okay, then I'm going to ask if any members of the commission have any questions or comments. Commissioner Weinberg.
Joanne, the very first exhibit you showed, the map, not the aerial, but the actual sketch before that. While you were speaking, it was what was on the screen. It's the first exhibit I have.
This one?
Yes. Where the highlighted subject site.
Yes.
What am I doing wrong?
The arrow goes here.
I'm sorry?
The block, the text is here, but the arrow to point to the site.
Ah, the arrow. I don't have an arrow, so I see the subject site as east of US 1, and I can't understand how that could be.
The arrow goes here.
Okay, thank you. And just one question, with the use of Ivory parking garage, they meet the minimum required parking?
They require 313 spaces for their development. They have they're going to build or propose to build 174, so they need to share the balance with Ivory. They've given us a shared parking study. It's gone to our traffic engineering consultant. They've reviewed and approved it that it will work, based on the disparate uses between the two properties.
But that actually provides the number of spaces that would be required.
Yes, the Ivory has 331 spaces.
Okay, thank you very much.
Commissioner Shelley?
Couple of questions, Joanne. You're showing the extension to 214th. If I'm not mistaken, that's something that the city has pretty much wanted and needed for quite a while, because wasn't the original 214th to the south of this property?
The original plans 20 years ago were to try and connect, yes, 213th right across, but because of the existing geometry, it has to go up north.
So now, what I'm saying is it's doing what we wanted it to do by doing this.
Yes.
The other question is how far, and it's an ambitious project, and I love the project. I'm just curious, I know it's subject, obviously, to you getting a couple of small pieces of property in order to get turn lanes, access, et cetera, to make this extension work. At what point, now you're going to start the permit process before that takes place, I'm assuming, from the developer's standpoint. At what point does the project come to a stop if he's unable to get these pieces of property that he needs for the access and the right-of-ways, et cetera?
Before certificate of occupancy or temporary.
Okay, so it's conceivable that he could build this entire building and then not have access?
He will have access by way of 213th Street, but the traffic study that was proposed.
Well, that's what I'm saying, yeah, so they could never get a CO without that?
That's correct.
Okay,
Yes.
so that's a condition that he's willing to take the chance on, hopefully that he's going to work with the woman that's sitting next to him to make it happen. You better be nice to her. One other thing I just want to clarify, the gold standard gives some of these things that he's needing already, doesn't it?
It does by way of conditional use approval.
Okay. And then the abandonment of 28th, it's an abandonment of the road, but the road will still remain there. It'll be a private road, but for public access, is that correct?
That's correct. This is 28th Court, and
So that'll connect 214th to 213th?
We'll still connect 214th to 213th, and it will remain open for public, pedestrian, vehicular traffic.
And then the sidewalk he's adding is on the north side of the hospital, is that correct? Because there's no access right now on that area.
Right now, this is 28th Court, so we're behind the hospital here, and this is the parking garage for the hospital. The sidewalk ends right here now. So he is proposing to build the sidewalk along the east side of 28th Avenue, and then along the south side, this is 213th. So this is the new 2801 building here, and this is the Ivory that is under construction by the same developer. So the sidewalk will access all these developments.
Okay, and the only other thing you had mentioned, with doing the 214th extension, there's obviously off-site turn lanes, traffic signalization, et cetera.
Yes.
I'm estimating this is a cost of what, about $2.5 million to do all these improvements?
That's
And that's
the
all at the
estimate.
expense of the developer?
Yes.
I commend you. But, so that's all his responsibility, and then obviously the right-of-ways will be dedicated to the cities, et cetera, the county?
That's correct.
Okay, that's all, thank you.
Commissioner Mizrahi?
I understand that from our staff and Joanne, that you have done everything that's been asked within 2 days, or even 1 day. So really, congratulations. The project is amazing, and I know that you're taking a huge risk. But with that, you're believing in the city, and we believe in you. So hopefully, you can get the whole thing. I know that you've gone above and beyond to do many things that were not required before the building was done. So on behalf of the city, thank you.
Any other commissioner? I have a question of the applicant. I'm just wondering what kind of retail you're thinking about? Please.
Good evening, all. Even though nothing has been properly signed off yet, I'm planning more entertainment, like a new destination, so we can attract this younger crowd, and we have alternatives similar to in New York. There is a concept called Italy,
Yes.
and also the Chelsea Market. That style is what I'm looking for. We call it retail, but it's small retails and entertainment and restaurants.
It's great.
Great idea.
Yeah.
Fabulous. And badly needed, and I hope we have some outside tables with umbrellas and cafe environment, again, for the younger residents of the community.
And for the front on Biscayne, a nice restaurant or deli that is maybe opened extended hours and, looking amazing, providing all 3 meals. So when you enter Aventura from the north, you see something really nice and inviting.
Thank you so much. Thank you. With that, if there's no other questions, I'm going to open it for public comment. Anyone from the public wish to address this? I'm going to close the item for public comment, and I'm going to ask the clerk for a roll call vote.
Commissioner Dr. Marks?
Yes.
Commissioner Mizrahi?
Yes.
Commissioner Shelley?
Yes.
Commissioner Weinberg?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Narowski?
Yes.
And Mayor Weissman?
Yes.
Commissioner Landman is absent. The motion passes.
Thank you. And we wish you all the best.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we have no ordinances for first reading this evening. We have an ordinance for second reading, and I'm going to request the city attorney to read the ordinance.
Thank you, Mayor. An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Aventura, Florida, amending ordinance number 2018-18, which ordinance adopted a budget for the 2018-2019 fiscal year by revising the 2018-2019 fiscal year operating and capital budget as outlined in Exhibit A attached hereto, authorizing the city manager to do all things necessary to carry out the aims of this ordinance and providing for an effective date.
Can I have a motion for approval of the ordinance made by Commissioner Dr. Linda Marks, seconded by Vice Mayor Narowski? Does any member of the commission have any questions or comments? We shouldn't. I'm going to open the item for public comment. Anyone from the public wishing to address the commission about the budget item? Seeing as there are none, I'm closing the item for public comment, and I'm going to ask the clerk for a roll call vote.
Commissioner Dr. Marks?
Yes.
Commissioner Mizrahi?
Yes.
Commissioner Shelley?
Yes.
Commissioner Weinberg?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Narowski?
Yes.
And Mayor Weissman?
Yes.
Commissioner Landman is absent. The motion passes on second and final reading.
Thank you. There are no resolutions for tonight's meeting. The next item is reports, and I'm going to ask the commissioners if they have any reports. This isn't public hearing or comments, it's reports. Commissioner Mizrahi?
A report,
It's reports.
I just want to report or thank Vice Mayor Narowski because the item on combating human trafficking, you expedited immediately based on the time and the urgency before the Super Bowl. So I just want to thank you for doing that because we didn't have a December meeting and this item didn't come to this meeting. So thanks so much.
Anybody else, any reports? Okay, then I'm going to open the meeting for public comment. I'll request the city attorney to review with the commission members the purpose of this item.
Thank you, Mayor. This portion of the agenda is for the commission to receive items or public comments from the city residents, but under the commission rules, the commission simply receives the input. The commission does not ask questions or get involved in discussion. Any follow-up action will subsequently be handled by the city manager. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Any members of the public, if you wish to address us, please come up and state your name. You have the floor. Any topic. Just give us your name and address.
My name is Ludwika Konik, Point East, for 29 years, citizen of the United States for almost 40 years. Thank you. And professional, I am nurse teacher, and I live in Aventura for the longest time, from the day when the Aventura was created. And again, thank you for a wonderful job. But there are some little problems that we would like to address. First is a traffic on 186 and Biscayne Boulevard. It takes almost 40 minutes to get through the Miami Garden to Biscayne Boulevard and to Aventura. Something has to be done. And I learned from Dade County last week that Miami Garden is building racetrack for the cars. I don't know if City of Aventura is aware, but I got the notification from Dade County. So can you imagine what kind of traffic we will have? Is something that I believe that needs to be checked out. That's the first issue, concern. Second issue is already repeated. I addressed in November. We're living in a complex that next to us is a dry cleaner and little business section. And that dry cleaner is a troublemaker for all citizens of our building. Nuisance from 5:30 a.m. till 6 p.m. never stops. Compressor, I believe that was checked, and I got even notification that is with the norm of the noise. But thank you very much. If you are living in your apartment and for whole day you hear just buzzing sign, I have a recorder here. If you want to listen to that, you can listen. You want to listen? That will be fine with me. It's just overwhelming. Okay. Where I got sound recorder. Okay. That won't take long time. I'm sorry. Does not want to listen to me now. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I
That's
don't want
okay.
to waste my time. But, no.
Go on, I'll give you a few more seconds.
So that's that compressor. Please help us. We are all citizens and we are veterans. I'm Holocaust survivor and it's really difficult to live. So please, city manager, have a mercy on us. And that's all what I have for tonight. Thank you very much. Otherwise, you're doing a wonderful job. And if we can be helpful with anything, yes, let us know. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Please come up.
Good evening, all of you. I'm Pedro Salas, Southview, B3Q, Aventura. Is enough? The information is enough? Okay. I was here a year ago.
1 second, sir. City clerk, do you have the name and address? Okay.
I was here a year ago to talk to you. I did. I present a case about a sergeant of Aventura PD who was doing bullying on me because I present so many things. The mayor at that time said to me that she will conduct an investigation. So I'm coming today, 1 year after, to know the results of that investigation. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anybody else that wishes to address the commission?
Because I was waiting for a year and I have no comment, so I don't know how can you do an investigation about me without
Let
me.
me try and explain. I don't investigate anything.
You promised.
No. I said the city manager will look into it, and I'm sure he has, and after this meeting, he will get back in touch with you,
Thank you.
okay?
Okay. Can we put this on the screen? Is that possible?
Do we have any IT tech or support? Joanne, can you show them to put it on the screen?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm Stacy Levy. I live at 1051 Northeast 93rd Street in Miami Shores, and this is Cindy Orlinsky.
Do you need my address? 20051 Northeast 37th Court, Aventura, Florida.
And we are here to discuss our Dirty Socks 5K run and walkathon that's coming up on January 19th. First of all, we want to thank you so much for your support from last year. Mayor Weissman was there, Commissioner Mizrahi, and Commissioner Weinberg came to support us, and we had a really
In the rain.
in the pouring rain. And regardless, I think that we had a really successful first-year event. This will be our second year, and we are asking for your support again. We will be having, in addition to the run and the walk, we have a lot of activities. We have children's activities, we have a DJ, we have a Zumba class, we'll have face painting for the kids, food trucks. We're making a whole morning out of it. And I think that it's going to be a lot of fun for the people in the community. Ellie's Army is a foundation that was named for my daughter Ellie, who passed away from cystic fibrosis about 5 years ago. And we help assist families who have children and young adults with life-threatening illnesses. We help them financially with whatever it is they need, whether it be paying their mortgages, their hospital bills. We try to serve them in whatever way that will help them to not have financial stress and just have to worry about keeping their child healthy and alive. So, like I said, we really would love your support again this year. We're looking forward to it. Do you have anything to add, Cindy?
No, because this is about Ellie's Army and Stacy, and I'm here to support. I'm a chair with my husband, as most of you guys know. And last year was a huge success in the pouring down rain. I think we had over 300 participants come. The news came. It was widely accepted and supported, and it's
And
about Ellie.
this year, Rudabeh Shabazi is going to MC the event. I better learn her name before the event.
Rudabeh.
Yes, Rudabeh. So that's all that we have.
Well, it's not all that you have. I want to say, having been there last year, and I think I can speak for anybody that was, it was the best organized, and I said that, Cindy, to you, the best organized event I've ever really and truly been at, and I mean it. In the rain, with everything. Everyone there was there with their heart, and I'll certainly be there again.
Thank you.
You don't have to worry about that. And anyone who wasn't there, I would really recommend set your alarm a little earlier one day. What Ellie went through wasn't easy in her life. And I think maybe you could tell the story of how the dirty socks, again, because everyone should hear it.
So my daughter had 2 double lung transplants at the end of her life, and her doctor told her that in order to get out of the hospital, she needed to walk. And so he asked to see dirty socks because that would show that she was walking. And she walked, she just kept walking. And so this walkathon we've dedicated to walking for kids that are in the hospital and that also have illnesses like Ellie.
Thank you. Thank you so very much, both of you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Well, is there any other business? I have one comment, and I really have to give kudos to Joe Kroll for the rapidity of the curbing work, particularly on Country Club Drive. I mean, it's gone up so quickly. I hear complaints from my counterparts in many cities how long it takes to get something in a median done, and this is just moving so quickly. And I also want to thank everybody on staff for the day of the rain, the flooding that went on within 24 hours, really way before 24 hours, because I was caught in the middle of it. Your staff was absolutely amazing. The police department was amazing. Everyone was pitching in, as they always do here, and I just want to thank you. Okay, with that, can I have a motion for adjournment? Made by Vice Mayor Naratsky, seconded by Commissioner Weinberg. This meeting is adjourned.